All right, let's start with what's happening in West Asia and what could potentially be the biggest escalation in the region. Israeli fighter jets struck Houthi military targets near Yemen's Hodeidah port, killing at least 3 people and wounding 87. The attack comes a day after a drone launched by the Iran-backed group hit Tel Aviv. Israeli Defense Forces carried out retaliatory attacks against Houthis on Saturday. Yemen media reported that the strikes were targeted against oil facilities and a power station, and that most of the wounded suffered severe burns in the airstrikes. According to the Israeli military, the strike was carried out by Israeli F-15 fighters that all returned safely. Israeli Defense Minister said the attack was carried out to send a message to the Houthi rebels.
The fire that is currently burning in Hodeidah is seen across the Middle East, and the significance is clear. The Houthis attacked us over 200 times. The first time that they harmed an Israeli citizen, we struck them, and we will do this in any place where it may be required. The blood of Israeli citizens has a price. This has been made clear in Lebanon, in Gaza, in Yemen, and in other places. If they will dare to attack us, the result will be identical.
Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu closely monitored the attacks on Houthi targets in Yemen along with senior Israeli military personnel from Tel Aviv. He later put out a warning to the Houthis, Hezbollah and Hamas.
I have a message for Israel's enemies. Don't mislead us. We will protect ourselves in every way on every front. Anyone who harms us will pay a very heavy price for his aggression.
The port is more than 1,700 kilometers away from Israel. Israeli military said the port had been used by the Houthis to receive weapons shipments from Iran. The targets included dual-use sites such as energy infrastructure. As the war in Gaza rages on, the Houthis have stepped up attacks against Israeli and American targets, saying that they are acting in solidarity with the Palestinians. Israeli officials say the strike in Yemen has come after more than 200 Houthi attacks on Israel. The attack also came after an escalation in the daily exchange of fire between Israeli forces and the Iran-backed Hezbollah group in southern Lebanon. This has triggered renewed fears of the war in Gaza spiraling into a wider war in West Asia. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has called on the international community to step up pressure on Tehran and its proxies, the Houthis, Hamas and Hezbollah. But the Houthi group has said that there would be an effective response to the strikes. Houthi military spokesperson Yahya Saree said Houthis will not hesitate to strike vital targets of the Israeli enemy. Earlier, Yemen's military had issued a warning that Tel Aviv is no longer a safe city. On Friday, a long-range Iranian-made drone launched from Yemen had hit the center of Tel Aviv. At least 1 was killed and 4 others wounded. This was the Houthis' first such drone attack, which was not detected by Israel's much-feared Iron Dome. All right, for more on this, we're now being joined by Colonel David Beiderosh. He is a professor at Near East South Asia Center for Strategic Studies, National Defense University. Sir, thank you so much for joining us on World DNA. Always a pleasure to have you. Now, sir, my first question to you is, given all the developments, would you say that the war in West Asia has entered a new phase? Do you reckon this is an escalation like we've never seen before?
Well, it's the first time Israel's responded. As your report noted, there had been several hundred attacks launched from Yemen into Israel, but they had all been either intercepted or were inconsequential. So this is the first time they actually managed to kill an Israeli. I think Israel wants this to be a deterrent. I think that the Houthis on their part welcome having some sort of Israeli attack because it allows them domestically to portray any opposition to their rule, which is not extremely popular in Yemen, to be portrayed as supporting the Israeli government, which is broadly unpopular in the country. So it's a complicated situation. It could end here. My suspicion is that there will be another attack in a few more months as the Houthis' domestic situation deteriorates.
Right, sir. There have always been fears of a wider regional conflagration. Will other Houthi empathizers in the region, Hezbollah, the Islamic resistance, we're talking about the axis of resistance here, do you think they will jump in to retaliate now?
Not on behalf of the Houthis. I mean, the different proxy forces that Iran has different degrees of independence, and the Houthis are probably the most independent. So they take their cues not from each other, but from Iran. I think it is possible, though, that they're struggling to remain relevant. They all want to be seen as at the forefront of resistance to Israel. So, Lebanese Hezbollah, of course, has gotten more involved. The various Iraqi militias have remained relatively quiet. The Houthis, I think, did this as a means of reasserting their relevance and possibly trying to make a claim on Iranian resources if, as is currently predicted, President Trump returns and imposes maximum pressure on Iran. Iran will have much less money to spend on weapons and supporting its proxies. So the Houthis want to be seen as in the first rank of their proxies.
Right, sir. Now, despite all the developments, we've seen that the tone of the Israeli Prime Minister has not changed. He vows to fight on and continue his attacks. Retaliatory attacks is what he calls them. Now, at the same time, there is growing pressure on the Prime Minister. How do you assess that?
I think it's nothing that he can't deal with. I mean, the Prime Minister's goals remain pretty much constant from what they were on October 7th, which is to destroy the ability of Hamas to project power inside Israel. I think in order to do that, he's going to have to eventually have occupied all of Gaza for a period of some time while they systematically destroy the tunnels, the weapons networks, etc. That means that they're going to have to eventually take all of Rafah, and then the operation will shift from an offensive force against a conventional force, which is what Hamas amounted to a counterinsurgency confined mostly within Gaza. And I think we're going to see that happen within the next few months.
All right, Colonel Darosh, thank you so much for joining us on World DNA with your insights on this.
Thank you.
For latest news, download the WION app and subscribe to our YouTube channel.